You ought to know the deal by now. Sometime middle of the week or so, you get my updated weekly NFL power rankings. I put the power rankings in the description box below so you can read them and weep in case I don't talk about your team, which I won't talk about the vast majority of them, so you don't like it, tough shit. And you can go ahead and bitch at me about them, but it's whatever. Looking at this week, what are some of the big notable changes? No change with the Saints. They're number one. They deserve to be. They beat the Rams. They just boat raced the defending Super Bowl champions by 41 points. They've won 9 games in a row. Right now, they're looking like the best team in the NFL. And when you think about the thought of having to go to New Orleans and having to go in there and win a playoff game in January, that's a very scary proposition indeed. The Rams move up a spot and switch with the Chiefs since they beat the Chiefs 54-51. Both of these offenses are great. Both of these offenses could put up a ton of points. And that game was a lot of fun to watch Monday night. I don't know if I want to see that all the time, but hey, on Monday night, it was a lot of fun. It's just I look at the Rams and I look at the Chiefs, and we're going to find out come playoff time whether that style really can translate into a championship level of football. I mean, can it? Because no matter how great your offense is, you're going to have a bad day. And what happens when you have that bad day? If you're the Rams and the Chiefs, you're not really stopping anybody. Which is particularly crazy for the Rams because they have some notable big-name talent on that defense, and they stink. The Chiefs have some notable big-name talent on their defense, and they also stink. It's just crazy how that works. The Steelers move up to number 4. That was a tough game for them in Jacksonville. A tough situation for them. The type of team that they lose to in the past, the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year, coming off of the news of Le'Veon Bell not reporting, meaning he's going to sit out the entire year. And the Steelers came roaring back in the fourth quarter and won the game late. I mean, that was huge for them. That was absolutely huge. You look at the Chicago Bears, it was a huge Sunday night for them. You beat the Vikings, get another divisional win. You're now 7-3. You knock the Vikings down a peg. That Bears defense showed itself very well in prime time. They absolutely did. They absolutely did. When you kind of look at the bottom of things, I mean, right now, who would you actually say is the worst team in the league? Is it the Bills? Is it the Jets? Is it the Raiders? Is it the Cardinals? Is it the 49ers? Like, regardless of record, if you threw those 5 teams into a hat, drew a name, and said that's the worst team in the National Football League, I don't know how much argument you would get for any of the 5. I still kind of lead towards the Raiders a little bit, but the hell, they did beat the Cardinals on Sunday, so they're 2-8, and they got the advantage over the freaking Cardinals. Just saying. But yeah, I don't even know that it matters. I look at those teams specifically, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. And in general, when you look at the league right now, you see some surprising names in the bad teams category. The Eagles are 4-6. The Packers 4-5-1. The Falcons are 4-6. There were people that were high on the Giants. They're freaking 3-7. After the first couple of weeks of the season, everybody was high on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're now 3-7. It's just amazing how much the league can change from one year to the next. And now you got the Colts starting to surge a little bit. They're 5-5. They won a few games in a row. What happens with the Ravens the rest of the year with Lamar Jackson? Or do you go right back to Joe Flacco? What happens to the Redskins now that Alex Smith is lost for the year and they've got Colt McCoy? Are the Vikings ever really going to piece this thing together? How many more games in a row can the Houston Texans win? It's all types of interesting things that happen on a week-in, week-out basis. But those are my power rankings. If you don't like the fact that I have the Bears in 6th, the Chargers just lost to the Broncos. And the Texans, yeah, they've won 7 in a row. If you want to put the Texans above the Bears, I get it and I understand it. Maybe you feel like it's a little bit of bias or whatever. But if you really start to analyze and you really start to look at it, the Bears are in about the right spot here. They really, really are. But I don't know if it's going to matter. I don't know if anybody right now could beat the Saints the way the fuck they're playing. Good Lord.